At the end of the day, it boils down to an experience, right? Smart latches give next level experience. Steel Blue gives a next level experience to anybody who purchases a door. You guys can provide a custom door with latches already installed so that it's totally white glove. And when you have a white glove experience like that, it leaves a good taste in your mouth. And when you have something with next gen tech, both in door and latch, you're assured that you're going to have something that's going to last a long time, backed by two companies who support the products tremendously.
Hi, and welcome to the Steel Blue podcast. Today, I'm joined with Bray and Craig from Steel Blue and Steve and Nathan from PTI. Guys, if you want to introduce yourself and give us a brief overview of PTI Security Systems.
I'll jump in first. Nathan Davenport, been with PTI for about 6 years. Currently as CTO, so I'm over engineering and also product and help drive the future roadmap for the access control that we provide.
And I'm Steve Reeder, Director of Marketing with PTI. I've been here for closing in on 2 years. I get the opportunity to push all the great innovations forward that Nathan comes up with, so super excited about that.
Awesome. We're happy to have you on the podcast today. Give us a brief overview of your products. You talked a lot about ProEdge at the trade show. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, ProEdge is an exciting product we just launched in May. It's a mesh supported network, which means that the redundancy is extremely important with the network. And if one node goes down, we can get more into the details a little bit later. But basically, we provide a tenant with an app. They have the ability to seamlessly enter and access the facility, and then they get right to their unit. And they can just with a swipe of their phone access their unit. Key sharing is another big piece, right? You have a lot of tenants that want to provide access and share access to people. Maybe it's a family member or a commercial tenant. And so that's the gist of the product. And you can see a couple of them on the wall behind me. We can talk about the details in a little bit.
Show and tell.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think the exciting thing for the industry and for PTI is we're really starting to push the boundaries of smart tech and bring in smart tech into self-storage for all the advantages that smart tech brings operators, the increased automation, et cetera, et cetera. PTI is just, like I said, one of the leaders in that space. ProEdge, we have huge hopes for. We're already seeing a lot of overwhelming acceptance for ProEdge and what it offers and what it brings operators.
So we all know we're all in the same industry and we know what's out on the market right now. I'm familiar with the smart locks, but in my region, in the central region, they're just starting to pick up on it and it's getting a little more prevalent and it's getting requested a little more. What's different with the ProEdge for my customers than what's available today?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think you're aware we were not the first out in the market with a product like this. And sometimes that's actually a really good thing. You can see what works, what doesn't work. And so we were able to take a few of the lessons learned from the industry about battery life, for example. I think that's been a huge pain point is that advertising battery life and the true life of the battery didn't always line up. And of course, when a tenant shows up and their unit is dead and they can't get in, that's a massive issue for them. So we spent a lot of time and effort on the algorithm behind how you calculate the battery life and try to optimize it as much as we could. We also leveraged a radio that's unique to this industry. It's called Lumen Radio. It's a Swedish-based company, and it specializes in high efficiency communication. I think the battery life is going to be something that's a big differentiator for us.
So Nathan, what I took from that is that what you're publishing as your battery life is really accurate, not necessarily what some others have said. I've never gotten 32 miles a gallon out of my truck, even though that's what was on
True.
the sticker. So
Yeah.
is that kind of the gist of it? So what you guys are promoting and publishing today is accurate. And can you tell me a little bit about what that is?
Yeah. So 3 years lifetime is what we've published. Huge variances in battery life when you look at climates. Of course, very cold temperatures are slightly different. Very hot temperatures are slightly different. And so we had tried to take a very conservative estimation. And it takes a lot of inputs from the number of cycles the lock has been used, the number of hops it takes to get back to the gateway. and then of course the temperature and things like that. So there's quite a few inputs that go into this calculation. I'll caveat that with, we haven't had this out there for 3 years, so it's hard to sit there and say 100% 3 years, but we've taken a lot of time and effort, a lot of our own resources to ensure that's an accurate estimation.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Bray. I think our tests have been at 6,500 cycles, what we're testing at, and we just based that on number of cycles per year, and we came up with a 3-year number. That's how we derived that. But to Nathan's point, your mileage may vary based on a number. Temperature plays a
Right.
huge
Yeah.
role in the duration of a battery, though.
And I know I've had the privilege of visiting your facility, and I've seen some of the testing apparatus that you have. And so I know you've done some testing with the hot and cold temperatures, right? I was a little intrigued by that the last time I was at your place. And no doubt that you've done extensive testing in that background, even to reach that published number. And the conservatism that you said, Nathan, that you spoke about, being conservative with that number, I'm certain
Yeah.
that there's situations that outlives that. And yeah, I look forward to year 5, 6, 7, right? And you still got functional batteries out in the field. So kudos to you guys.
And it's
We haven't replaced one yet,
There you
Bray,
go.
and it's been out since we've been testing it since January in
January.
real world
Right.
application. We haven't replaced one.
That's good. That's good. No, that's all right. We recently did a project with you guys where we installed the latches in-house. And I think we're setting a trend in the industry, right, between Steel Blue and PTI of doing that. I think most of their applications, you guys historically have been field installs, but today we're being a little cutting edge. And I think that speaks to the service that we're trying to add to the industry, both from PTI and Steel Blue. What we're trying to go a step above and beyond what other folks in the industry do today. And what I'd like to talk a little bit about, we have another gentleman on the phone with us, Matt Smith. He runs our production operation in Georgetown. And so they had the honor and the privilege of running the pilot program of putting these latches on. So I'm going to let Matt talk a little bit about that. If you will, I'm going to put him on the spot here. He's camera shy sometimes, but I'd like for him to talk about all the highlights and things that they saw and the benefits and all the positive stuff that we saw working through that program.
So we didn't entirely know what to expect. It is definitely a different looking latch than what we're used to. As far as assembly, it didn't mess with any of our production times. It was quite easy to put on the door. We were a little concerned with maybe some abrasion when it was shipping, so we just added a little bit of extra packaging to the lock and didn't have much of an issue there. We also applied those to, it was about 250 rollovers, and then we put them on 120 swing doors with very minimal issue to production or flow in the shop whatsoever.
Yeah, and I know there was good collaboration between your team and our team. There were things we didn't know that you would run into with the installation. I think one of the cool things is we can make the change quickly on our side and then get an update to you. I think if we ran into any issue at all, it was a day that we were able to figure it out and then fix it and then ship it out. I'm sure the next few are going to be much smoother than that one, but as a pilot, I think it went pretty well from our side too.
What kind of changes had to be made?
It could be small things. One of the screws on the back in shipping would slide out, and it actually caught the latch where you couldn't unlock it. So a simple fix was, hey, let's just add Loctite to that lock, to that bolt when we ship it. And of course that solved it. So little things like that, no big issues, but small learnings to make the shipment more efficient.
Oh yeah, I agree. We got a lot of experience from it, so that was good. And you guys were very responsive in any questions that we did have.
A question that's changing gears a little bit as far as the manufacturing, but from a customer's point of view, the questions that I get is that the lock is available to them in the market, but what's required on the back end? What other services do they have to get from PTI in order for the system to work?
Yeah, it's really just our cloud software. We advertise that you get a better experience if you have our keypads. Again, show and tell, you can see some on the wall behind me. That's a test ball, by the way. So my wife hates it, but it's what I have to do for work. So we advertise that it's a better experience with that, but you don't have to have it. So really the only requirement is a little gateway that we ship to you that plugs in with an Ethernet cord, and then the cloud software that we provide the industry. So pretty simple.
And then from the tenant perspective, we actually built a new app to support Blue Tech called Store ID. So the tenant would then have to download the app, get that, and they're off and running. But that's pretty much it. It's pretty easy.
And is that an added cost to add that opposed to the lock itself, or is that something that comes with the lock?
The cloud controller or
or the latch?
the
Yeah,
SLC?
the cloud controller.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that would be an additional expense.
I will tell you, so I was privileged to be able to see some of the stuff that they're working on again on my last visit there. I could have spent all day. I think we
Yeah.
spent about 30 minutes, and I'm sure that my verbiage and terms and definitions are wrong here, but when you guys were going through the process of how it goes from this repeater to that repeater and stuff, and finding the quickest routing mechanism as far as to how to get information back and forth, which I think also plays into the battery life, that was really cool to see that every time you have another latch go online, it just makes the speed of everything so much faster. That was really cool. Not to mention just the
Yeah.
sheer data that you guys gather, right? If I were a facility owner at some point, knock on wood, we'll make that happen. There's no question I would want all of that data. We talk about it at Steel Blue. We're data driven junkies, right? And while it might seem like useless, just information, we will figure out a way to
Yeah.
capitalize on that data. You're right. And so what you guys provide and the amount of feedback and data that you gather and collect from your programs, it's unreal. Like things that I never thought would happen. It's unreal at how much data. And I forget the young guy's name that was going through this, but when I would ask a question like, can you he do this and this? And then boom, there it is. What about, oh yeah, this, and then boom, there it is. I was really impressed with that. It was
Yeah.
really cool.
Shout out to Logan. Yeah, he's
Logan, there
huge
you go.
asset. And you get a Logan every time you buy
Yeah.
ProEdge because he installs these. It's in the field to ensure they're working right. But yeah, and you're really referring to the site map, which for the listeners is a topographical map of your site layout. And then we assign the nodes, the locks to each unit. And so what we can do is then see the hop sequence of each lock and determine, is this the efficient way to do it? We need to add a repeater over here so it's 2 hops instead of 5. Again, all that goes back to the speed of communication and also the longevity of the battery. To the data, I think you're 100% right. There's a security piece that you benefit from, and then there's a revenue piece that you benefit from. I think on the security side, one good example is we track how long people are on site. So we can tell, of course, when someone's sleeping in their unit, if they're loitering. But one of the new things we can do with this is we can count how long it takes you while you're on site to open your unit. And you might think, okay, we know across 5 facilities, for example, it takes about 10 minutes for someone to park their car, get in, open their unit. So that's the norm. When we start seeing it's an hour for a particular person, we can assume that they're loitering, that they be scoping out other units. Maybe they're innocent, but you want to know that kind of stuff, right? You want to know where you have these outliers. And then on the revenue side, I think understanding super users of your facility allow you to dynamically price your tenants. So if they have the unit door open for 45 minutes, 3 times a week, maybe they would take a $10 rent increase next month. Those correlations are things that we're uncovering today. And yeah, we're just scratching the surface with that.
Yeah, I think I saw maybe on a LinkedIn post or something that somebody from your team a couple of weeks ago posted a thing here in Atlanta, I believe it was, about a couple of guys that had rented just in the effort to try to scope out. And so the security that you guys provide for that, again, as much as we talk about technology becoming more and more sophisticated, we have to stay ahead of the curve of people that are trying to do the wrong thing, right? And so kudos to you guys for getting ahead of that and trying to prevent as much of that as possible. So again, it was a sweet deal, right? I was super intrigued by it.
It is a real problem, Bray. It truly is. I saw something on the news a couple of weeks ago, probably the same thing you saw, but the smart tech gives us the ability to immediately notify tenants, operators of an intrusion. And that's one of the biggest gaps right now. If you use a traditional lock, a traditional
Right.
latch, you never get notified. You may find out your unit is broken into 2 weeks later, 3 weeks. When I had a
Right.
self storage, I had to go by once a quarter. And so, at what point do you find out? And if anything we can do to shorten that gap gives us a greater chance of protecting our assets, right? So, one of the great things about bringing that smart tech, whether it's ProEdge or even to the forefront, is we can notify the tenant immediately We also have a full audit log on who's going in and who's leaving. So we also know if something was removed at this time, it was probably that individual or whatever. But you can see some of that stuff. You can't see that with the older traditional latches lock combinations.
In my scenario, I have smart technology on my regular garage door at home. So now instead of giving somebody a key, trying to figure out if my son came over and got the lawnmower or the generator, no, right? Who was there? And I know when they came in and I know when they went out. So, and being a dad of teenagers, I also know when my kids get home. So, that helps a lot. So,
I think that's the perfect example. And we're not the first people to say this, but the storage facility should be an extension of your house, right? So it should
yeah.
feel and you should interact with it with your smart door, your smart lock on your front door. This industry lags a bit in technology, but I think we're seeing that it's catching up pretty quickly. You're seeing a lot of bigger players in the industry. Of course, our parent company, ASSA ABLOY, bought us in 2019. You're seeing groups like Honors that have come in. So I see the technology explode even faster in the next 2 to 5 years.
That's great. Look, I won't expand on the whole ASSA ABLOY thing a whole lot, but I think it's important too for you guys. I don't know how much of the industry understands you guys have major backing, right? Your foundation is super solid. ASSA ABLOY, that's a huge organization that has their hand in a lot of aspects, and the longevity of your company and the stability of it. So I don't want that to go understated as you guys progress and continue forward. It's exciting stuff, right?
It is, and we're fortunate enough to take some of those technology, some of those learnings to self-storage. That's how we came up with the Helix, which is our smart padlock. We brought something out of critical infrastructure and brought it to
That's it right there.
self-storage. And so we're going to continue to tap that mine a little bit more. There's a lot of great technology that they're using for other industries. Hospitality is one that we're going to continue to tap into. And based on what we can absorb and what they want and what they'll pay for, we'll continue to bring that technology forward.
So speaking of new products, don't you guys have a new door to talk about?
Yeah, so we launched our 1270 series at this show just a couple of weeks ago, and so we're super excited about that. Borderline giddy, right? So our sales team, Craig is part of our sales group of our organization, and man, there's not been pushing and shoving about trying to get this product onto the market as quickly as possible, but there has been strong talk. Right. Our group has needed this and wanted this. And so we've developed the 1270 series, which again, we're super excited about. It's just the foundation layer for expansion of our commercial door line. We're excited to talk about our wind load testing that we're doing the end of the month. So Matt and his team are assembling some doors now that we're going to do some wind load testing, some hurricane testing, and the timing's fitting considering what we went through here in the Southeast just in the past couple of days. And so it's definitely a need in our market. Craig's market that he services, there's a huge boat and RV door market out there that we haven't tapped into really yet. We're super excited about that. So yeah, we go up to a 14 by 14, 1270 series, wind load options later on, but that door is going to roll out Q4. So thanks for asking, man. We've already
Yeah.
worked with you guys on smart technology, even on that with the extended throws and things of that nature. You're well aware of, right? Nathan is 100% a product guy, as am I. We collaborate quite a bit, what's coming up and what's in the pipeline. Yeah, thanks for asking, man. We're super excited about it, but it's just the foundation. I saw you hold up your padlock. We'll be rolling out some new door series in the spring. Some of them will come out even before then, I'm sure. We don't like to sit on a good thing for too awful long.
Yeah, I'll throw a quick plug out there. So for those listeners that are going to be in the Texas area, October 23rd, 24th, and 25th, we'll have the 1270 door available to view and roll up and bang and beat on down at the Texas Self Storage Show. Please come see us.
At the show, turnkey was also mentioned. What does that mean for self storage operators if they're trying to partner with someone like PTI and Steel Blue?
So I'll jump in there first. Just I
They
probably got a little bit ahead. Ashley does such a good job, and Jared of getting us information, and we go off on tangents constantly. So as we
Okay.
talked earlier, Steel Blue and PTI, we're the first ones, to my knowledge, to do the manufacturing install. We put their ProEdge latch on, as Matt alluded to, a bunch of our doors with flawless execution. We had When we received the latches, we made a couple of phone calls and asked, hey, make sure that we do this, make sure that we do this. But as Matt alluded to, it was nothing any different for us, right? It's a 4-bolt latch pattern that fits the standard 4-bolt latch patterns that we use today. And so it was a beautiful thing to just make it seamless. To Matt's point, we were so impressed with the aesthetics and how pretty that ProEdge was compared to what some of the other things are on the market. We were extremely impressed with how nice and sleek and clean it was. So we put some extra foam on the front of it. We don't want to be those guys that give it a bad name when it arrives. And so we've done that, and that job is now installed. I believe that job was down in maybe Fort Myers, Florida. I think that's where that was at. And
Yeah.
so I know they're actively doing the install on that job, and man, we've heard nothing but positive reviews. We collaborated together to close that deal even, and so we've heard a lot of positive things about it. But again, I think you guys are more in tune to that than I am for sure. But I think that was the first time that those latches have been installed in a factory setting as opposed to in the field. So any issues that we were able to address, but honestly, I don't know of any that we had. We may have had to open a latch or two just to install them, but I think that was about the extent of it. So
Yeah.
it's been nothing but great for us. That enables us to do the turnkey. Nathan or Steve, can y'all talk a little bit about what happens after the doors are installed in the field? I know there's some additional things that happen. Can you tell us a little bit about that process and how it works?
So, yeah, you
Yeah.
mentioned turnkey. I think that's the perfect phrase for it because we have different personas that we sell to, right? We sell to, of course, the operator that runs the facility. We also sell to the integrator that helps install and configure the access control. And of course, all this works only because the tenant is paying the occupancy monthly rent. So we focus on those three personas consistently. This drastically improves the install and the operation of the lock and the system rather than having to worry about either cutting off locks and installing them in the field and having to open the door and videotape if it's rented and all of that that goes into a retrofit. A new build with locks already on the door completely remove all that complexity, and all we're doing is going through with our commissioning app and just commission the lock by pressing the button, pairing it with the system, and then moving to the next one. Maybe 30 seconds a lock to fully commission it to the access control system. For me, that's a huge win. And I think anytime we can do, that's the direction we should go.
Sure.
Yeah, just to build on what Nathan was saying, for us to partner with such an innovative company like Steel Blue and having ProEdge be part of that has been a tremendous opportunity for us. We're excited to be part of the projects that you guys have moving forward, especially be associated with some of your latest technology on your new doors.
Yep.
Yeah, and we appreciate that, right? We've done some things that are a little different in the industry. I think the one thing that I certainly don't want to leave out of this conversation is the service levels, right? We talk about innovation a lot as an industry, but at the end of the day, when we started Steel Blue, one of the things there was we just want to make sure that we take care of the customers, right? The most innovative thing it seems like that we can do in the industry today is, oddly enough, is just do what we say we're going to do, right? So that's the biggest driver for us today, our customer satisfaction, upholding to our commitments. That's a huge focal point for us. And so we strive to do that. We have a deal here that we might not always be able to do exactly what you want, but we'll do exactly what we commit and agree to. And we're just honest, and we work. Our core values revolve around the collaboration and things of that nature, the transparency. And so that's one of the things that I've also found through our relationship with PTI is that you guys are committed to doing what you say you're going to do. Again, the innovation is great. We see a lot of innovation out in the market today, but with very little to no execution. Guys, the execution level of you and your team, Steve, Nathan, it's
Yep.
just been impeccable. So we greatly appreciate that.
I think at the end of the day, it boils down to an experience, right? Smart latches give next level experience. Steel Blue gives a next level experience to anybody who purchases a door. You guys can provide a custom door with latches already installed so
Right.
that it's totally white glove. And when you have a white glove experience like that, it leaves a good taste in your mouth. And when you have something with next gen tech, both in door and latch, you're assured that you're going to have something that's going to last a long time, backed by two companies who support the products tremendously.
Yeah. And just to piggyback on that, ISS has their awards every year. And one of the great things for PTI was we were voted best tech support in the industry, which that doesn't happen by accident. There's a lot of things behind the scenes that have to go ahead and be proactive too. And when you spot that there's an issue, you try and jump on it before the customer even calls you about it. With cloud solutions, with smart latches, we see these issues in real time. So sometimes we fix them and the customer has no idea anything was adjusted.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Proactive is definitely better than reactive.
That's right. Yeah.
This is awesome. I love all y'all's data that y'all have too. How many latches do you have online today?
Yeah, several thousand. We had a really large sale. I think we posted about it on social recently with a company called Volta. So we'll have about 3,500 of their locks go online in the next couple of months and a little bit in Q1 of next year. So we think we're hitting the ramp on, the exponential adoption, which is great, right? When you sell a keypad, you can have a conversation over the phone and make the sale. This, you have a very extended lead time. It takes a long time to make sure you get the customer comfortable enough to place that order. We're seeing quite a bit of adoption right now, which is nice.
How is it with the non-tech savvy end user? What kind of pushback do you receive there, and do you see that becoming better for the future?
Back to one of the reasons it was nice to not be maybe first. We did get a lot of feedback on. We've got folks in golf towns in Florida that don't want to use an app. And so we really thought long and hard about this. And we could also leverage some of the logic we had adopted previously with other products. We had a product called DoorBoss, which we're still selling. It's just not as high tech. And it would actually unlock when you entered your code. And we could actually solve that issue the same way with ProEdge. When you enter your code, it automatically changes its mode to be ready for a push on the button. And as soon as the button's pushed, then you can slide the latch and get into your unit. And we call that phoneless mode. So instead of throwing out fobs to folks that don't want to download an app, you might as well have a key if you have a fob. So we think phoneless mode's a better approach to solving that issue.
And this is putting your code in at the gate or at the building entrance, right? That's the way it works. It's not
Correct.
a code on the lock. It's access to the facility.
That's right. And there are some competitors,
Correct.
I think, that have a code on the lock. But back to the aesthetics, we think it looks way better. It looks a lot cleaner if you don't have that. We think it's a nice balance of both.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I wanted to digress a little bit and just talk about, for the viewers and for the customers, we talk a lot about the collaboration. So if a customer reaches out to us they want the PTI latch, I know that I have a team member with PTI that I reach out to and get them involved. Can you share a little bit, Nathan, about if a customer reaches out to you directly on your end, maybe touch a little bit about how they go and gather information on this latch and the other services that you provide?
Yeah, it's a consultation, I think, is the best way to put it. You can download from the website the marketing guides and get a sense of how it works. But I think really understanding the use cases that are going to be solved with this is really the thing that light bulb clicks for people, right? You really can, over a larger scale portfolio, start to reduce staff, which I think or optimize staff, right? They're not doing lock checks every day. Instead, they're collecting leads. They're actually outbound calling for tenants to rent. That's what this kind of technology includes, and it becomes available to the customer if they fully understand what they're getting. Just installing this and leaving it, there's no set it and forget it. I don't think that actually works. And a lot of the daily responsibilities for site managers, and our team has to be able to articulate that effectively. And Steve, I don't know if you have anything else to add to that.
Yeah, I was just going to expand on the fact that something you were saying. ProEdge is not going to be the perfect solution for every situation, right? I don't know that there is any one lock that applies to every use case. And for that reason, that's why we have three different levels of locks. Nathan mentioned DoorBoss. We have the padlock as well, a smart product. We have ProEdge. So we basically have three different price points to cover multiple scenarios. But the fact is, ProEdge should be able to check about 80% of the boxes out there, 85%, because it can be used on a right-hand application, left-hand application, corrugated flat door. It can be used in a lot of different situations pretty easily. Whereas HELOX is more of a portable application. Obviously, ProEdge is mounted. So there's some overlap, but there's some definite differences as well.
I think, if I may here, I think one of the things that we could actually benefit all around in the industry. I will make this statement for our architect friends out there and listening to our podcast. So One of the things that I encourage our ARC teams and things throughout the country to do is think about getting more information from both Steel Blue and PTI and specing this product, right? If you have a client that's interested in smart technology, others may say that they're equivalent to or so forth, but I promise you that if you look at the background with Steel Blue, if you look at the products that we offer as well as that of PTI, you start specing these things in the architectural plans, that helps drive the conversation. It helps enable both Steel Blue and PTI to have those conversations, Nathan, that you were talking about. And candidly, when you see the information that you guys provide, there's very little convincing, right? That information really enables you to gain a competitive edge against people in the marketplace, both on a local level with your facility having this technology compared to your neighbor down the street that doesn't have that technology from an end user type application. I know we're starting to see a lot of the big REITs and things of that nature. They're looking into, okay, who are my preferred providers? And Steel Blue is rapidly making that happen, as well as PTI, right? Together we can do a lot of things. But when it comes to self-storage doors, we're going to strive to make Steel Blue the preferred provider and PTI the household name for smart lock technology. That's what we're striving to do. And any step that we can take on the front end, even this podcast, it's just informational, getting the information out there so that people understand a little bit more about what they're looking for, allowing us or enabling us to provide those services and products to make it happen. So I'm excited to see how much it grows over the next few months, years. It's pretty exciting to be able to get to it on this level of entry.
Yeah, and thank you for calling out the architects. I think that's an important step. And oftentimes we're brought into the conversation at the very end, right? When the integrator is ready to set up the cameras and the access control. And so I think, yeah, if we can get into the spec early enough, we can do things like we did, which are really awesome for the Florida site. Yeah, there's a lot of different people involved in these coming online. And so I think, yeah, getting with the architects would be a great thing for sure.
I just want to give you guys props. My communication with your team has been flawless, and what I expect on my end of things when a customer calls me and we respond, and kudos to you and your team. It's been fantastic.
We would say right back at you. It's been excellent. We talked to Brad quite a bit on your team. So yeah, lots of communication back and forth.
Yeah, Brad does a great job for us, and he's buried today. Like I said, we've got wind load testing coming up, and so there's a lot going on in our world, but a lot of exciting stuff. Yeah, man. So I wanted to say I appreciate both from professionalism of PTI and their group, but also just the camaraderie, right? That would right common interest. At Steel Blue, we focus as much on the business side of it. We focus as much on the culture side of it as we do the business side of it. Like I said, a couple of weeks ago, we had our executive team there at PTI. And so I just can't thank you enough for the hospitality and the welcoming environment that you guys had. Not to mention, your office is legit. Like, it is fantastic. Our CEO and our CFO, they were in attendance as well, and as well as our chief operating officer. And we were all like, these are life goals, right? Your office space, an area where you do your assembly, it's legit to see your lab. And we were fortunate enough, for those that know, we were fortunate enough to build a display area inside their office with our products. And being able to see our product in conjunction with the PTI product and them able to use it both as a sales tool and an engineering, research and development product, man, that was fantastic. Like, I got a little giddy inside. And so it was awesome to see that. So again, I just want to say thank you for welcoming us in. I look forward to you guys coming up and seeing our operation. I know we've talked about it, getting some of your components into our display area in our facility. And so we're excited about getting that across the goal line.
Thank you for helping set it up. I walked in one day and saw you turning wrenches and up on a ladder and actually building the whole setup out. We'll want to return the favor for sure.
We will take it, man. We don't play. If there's a job that needs to be done, we're all hands on deck. So thanks for allowing us.
Gentlemen, I think that concludes the podcast. Thank you for joining. I appreciate the collaboration that we all have had, and I look forward to the future.